Motor vessel Tosca. Motor vessel Tosca. Vacate your engine room. Vacate your engine room. We're prepared to subject you to disabling fire.
Okay, we gave the flare. Now we're getting be ready.
So I guess there's no ceasefire anymore. That's footage released by CENTCOM of the USS Spruance firing on the Tuska, which is an Iranian cargo ship, apparently. Let's go over to... Harrison here, Arabian Pleb. Welcome to the Arabian Pleb show. Let's go over to the antiwar.com article and look at what's happening, but not great. Not great at all. So Trump says US took control of an Iranian cargo ship after US Navy destroyer, quote, blew a hole, end quote, in its engine room. The president said that US Marines now, quote, have custody, end quote, of the vessel. And this is an article, again, by the phenomenal Dave DeCamp. And I'll just quickly read through a little bit of it. Might not get through the whole thing, but so it says, President Trump said on Sunday that the US warship, quote, blew a hole, end quote, in the engine room of an Iranian cargo ship that attempted to get past the US naval blockade of Iranian ports, and claimed that US Marines now, quote, have custody, end quote, of the vessel. Quote, today, an Iranian-flagged cargo ship named Tuska, nearly 900 feet long and weighing almost as much as an aircraft carrier, tried to get past our naval blockade, and it did not go well for them. The US Navy guided missile destroyer USS, how do I pronounce this? Spruance intercepted the Tuska in the Gulf of Oman and gave them fair warning to stop, end quote, the president wrote on Truth Social. And there's that footage that I just showed at the top of the show. Quote, the Iranian crew refused to listen, so our Navy ship stopped them right in their tracks by blowing a hole in the engine room. Lovely. Right now, US Marines have custody of the vessel. The Tuska is under US Treasury sanctions because their prior history of illegal activity. We have full custody of the ship and are seeing what's on board, end quote, Trump added. US Central Command later released a video of the USS Spruance firing on the Iranian ship. CENTCOM said its forces intercepted the Tuska while it was in the Arabian Sea on its way to Bandar Abbas, Iran. Quote, after Tuska's crew failed to comply with repeated warnings over a 6-hour period, Spruance directed the vessel to evacuate its engine room. Spruance disabled Tuska's propulsion by firing several rounds of the destroyer's 5-inch Mk-45 gun into Tuska's engine room. The US Marines from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit later boarded the non-compliant vessel, which remains in US custody, end quote, CENTCOM said. Earlier in the day, Iran Mir's news agency reported that the, quote, IRGC Navy Rapid Reaction Forces responded to the shooting at an Iranian commercial ship. Sorry, let me read that again. IRGC Navy Rapid Reaction Forces responded to the shooting at an Iranian commercial ship by American terrorist forces around the Sea of Oman and forced the Americans to retreat and flee, end quote. It's unclear whether the Mir report refers to the same incident since it didn't name the Iranian vessel. The incident comes after Iran announced it was reopening the Strait of Hormuz to commercial traffic following the declaration of a ceasefire in Lebanon by Tehran. But Tehran quickly reversed the move because the US maintained its blockade of Iranian ports. Iran views the blockade as a violation of the ceasefire since a blockade is an act of war. And that is absolutely true. A blockade is an act of war. You are stopping goods getting into a country which is going to harm the civilian population. Simple as that. It's a war on civilians. A blockade. What's the other word that they use? Sanctions. Sanctions, blockades. These are act of war. These are acts of war and just harming innocent people. President Trump has been threatening major strikes on Iran if Tehran doesn't agree to US demands for a deal, saying on Sunday that if there's not an agreement, the, quote, whole country is getting blown up, end quote. Goodness gracious. Right, quick little topic change. I'm going to move on to some Australian politics. Pauline Hanson. So I like some of Pauline's rhetoric, and I think she's been quite consistent over several decades of her being in politics and some of the things that she says about, I don't know, like just, putting Australians first and just things like that. Just very, very, very much like all about Australia and wanting to prioritise Australian, needs and all that sort of stuff. But I want to show you this clip. So this is from a couple of years ago. This is from 2024 sometime. Let's just go over there, play the clip, Pauline Hanson, and then, we'll comment on it afterwards. So let's check it out.
Now, we've often seen politicians wear their favourite footy scarves into the parliamentary chamber, especially around State of Origin week and all that sort of thing. But have a look at these pictures here. Here's Pauline Hanson in the Senate today wearing an Israeli scarf. And let's hear from the Senate President as to how they dealt with this.
Can I please ask that you either turn around the scarf that you're wearing or remove it altogether? It is against standing orders for you to have any slogans upon your dress. So can you please do that before I allocate the call to you?
Well, you've got a bit of a history in this area. I do recall you turning up in Parliament in a burqa once, Pauline Hanson. Yep. But an Israeli scarf, it's hard to see how that breaches standing orders. I wonder if anybody's worn a Palestinian scarf in the Senate yet.
Of course they have. The Greens wear it all the time. They just do it to be antagonistic. And the fact is that I'm standing up for the Jewish people in this country that have been poorly treated, those university students. I feel for the Jewish people, and I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve when it comes to this issue. And I'm sick of hearing saying about the Palestinians and genocide that's happening. There's no genocide. I'll put it this way. Palestine would dearly love to get rid of Israel and genocide. Have no doubt about it. But you know what? They can't. They don't have the power to do it. Now, Israel could well and truly genocide Palestine or Gaza because they've got the military might. But you know the difference is they won't. So the fact is that the Greens calling this as genocide, it isn't. Palestine invaded Israel and, killed 1,200 people, took others hostages. It's appalling what they did. Let's face the facts out there and people understand what's going on here. And if anyone did it to Australia, we would stand up and fight and defend our country as well. We would eliminate Hamas. It's the only thing any government could do. Thanks for joining us. Yep. You need to get one of these badges that I've got.
Okay, all right. So what is she doing? What is happening there? What was all that? What about the Aussies? Why are we caring about the Jews? Why are we caring about Israel? She'd be more consistent if she was like, look, whatever, like the Middle East is in turmoil. It's not our problem. The Greens are fucking idiots sorry, I've got to stop swearing. Dad, if you hear this, sorry, mate. Trying my best. The Greens are idiots for picking one side or the other. And a lot of their rationale for why they side with the Palestinians is nonsense. And, I just care about Australia and Australians, and I want to like make sure that the people who immigrate to this country aren't bringing all their baggage and their issues. You got to leave your issues at the door when you come to this country, and we're just going to focus on Australians. That would be more consistent with Pauline Hanson's overall message. But for her to be wearing an Israeli flag in Parliament is incredible. It is, I can't believe it. And I remember when I've seen that at the time, I thought, oh, she's this is a problem for her. This is going to be a problem. And as we've seen lately, like One Nation is soaring in the polls, whatever, take a poll with a grain of salt. Like, who's even answering polls? If I ever got a phone call and someone being like, oh, we're running a poll on X, Y, and Z, I'd just be like, click, hang up. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to waste my time with that crap. But anyway, so in the polls, One Nation is soaring in popularity. It's no surprise the two major parties are a bunch of corrupt scumbags and have done nothing but destroy this country. And it's still a great country. So, testament to the people here are able to withstand the onslaught of, theft and corruption and everything that comes with the two major parties. And so a lot of support is going to One Nation, particularly, obviously like right-wingers are supporting One Nation. I myself have voted for One Nation from time to time. I think it maybe even in, probably not the last election, but maybe one before that. I definitely have voted for Pauline Hanson, and more as like a protest vote to just be like stick a middle finger up to the two major parties. But seeing Pauline Hanson wear the Israeli flag in Parliament is gobsmacking. And I mean, let's just go over to it one more time. Like, if she's not signaling to the Zionist Jewish power centers that, hey, I'm on your side, just by the way, and please don't come at me with hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign money to fight against me. If that's not what this is, then I don't know what else it is, because like, why the hell would she be supporting Israel? I know there's a lot of propaganda around Israel and that whole issue. And, like, I don't know. I don't want to, like, get too deep into it right now, but killing babies is wrong. Just carpet bombing civilians is wrong. Doesn't matter who's doing it, whether it's us and the Americans or the Israelis or, the Allied forces in World War II bombing the Germans. It's wrong just killing innocent people. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're German, Israeli, Palestinian, Australian, American, whatever. Go down the list. It's wrong. Children are innocent by definition. So, but yeah, like, I don't know, like just some of her comments there about like, she just doesn't know her history, but just, what did she say? I don't know. I couldn't be bothered going back, but like, what did she say? She's like going on about fucking. Oh God, let's go back and have a quick look.
In a burqa once, Pauline Hanson, but an Israeli scarf. It's hard to see how that breaches standing orders. I wonder if anybody's worn a Palestinian scarf in the Senate yet.
Of course they have. The Greens wear it all the time. They just do it to be antagonistic.
She's probably right about that. The Greens wearing I don't want to mispronounce it, but whatever the religious Palestinian thing is, the scarf thing. It's like checkered white and black, whatever, like a kefir, I don't know. But yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if Greens are wearing that thing. That's stupid. They shouldn't do that in our government. Like, it's ridiculous. You're meant to represent Australians. So, yeah, she's right. But then for like her to do it back, I guess like she'd say like, oh, I'm just being antagonistic back to them because they're being antagonistic to me. But it's like, yeah, but like if we're going to have a standard that they shouldn't wear it, then you shouldn't wear it as well. You shouldn't wear the opposite side flag. You should just wear the Australian flag, Pauline. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
And the fact is that I'm standing up for the Jewish people in this country that have been poorly treated, those university students.
Okay, she's standing up for the Jewish people the Jewish people in this country, the poor students. What is she talking about? Hang on, let's go back. I got to hear it.
For the Jewish people in this country that have been poorly treated, those university students.
What Jewish university students have been poorly treated in this country? Point to one example, Pauline. And sorry, but what about the Australians that are poorly treated in this country? What about the amount of tax that we're being raped with? Like the amount of money that's just been stolen from us and then just wasted on fickle crap. What about standing up for us? I don't know, there's so many examples of where you could go to bat for Aussies, but you're choosing to go to bat for Jewish students. What are you talking about, Pauline?
For the Jewish people, and I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve when it comes to this issue, and I'm sick of hearing saying about the Palestinians and genocide that's happening. There's no genocide. I'll put it this way. Palestine would dearly love...
Okay, there's no genocide happening. Okay, so... The definition for genocide. Let's quickly look up the definition for genocide, because this is the thing. It's that's the problem with some of these terms is then you just get into a semantical argument about definitions of terms. But what does genocide mean? Okay, so. Genocide is the deliberate, systematic, and intentional. Genocide is a deliberate, systematic, and intentional destruction in whole or in part of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. Defined legally in the 1948 Genocide Convention, it involves acts like killing members, causing serious harm, and preventing births, coined by Ralph Lemkin to describe acts aimed at destroying a group's existence. All right, now let's have a look at Gaza. And we know that there's over 100,000 people killed in Gaza since Israel started bombing them after October 7th. So let's have a quick look at some of that. There's no genocide. That's not a genocide. Just leveling every building. Gaza's not a big area either. It's tiny. It's what is it? It's 130 Ks by fucking 20 Ks square area. It's tiny. Look at this. Look at what the Israelis have done to these poor people. And they're not all Muslims, by the way, either. There's a lot of Christians there. There's Orthodox Christian churches. It's just disgusting. There's no genocide. It's not a genocide. What are you talking about? It's not a genocide. If Israel wanted to genocide Gaza, they could, because Israel has a nuclear weapons arsenal that they lie about not having, so that they aren't subject to whatever, sanctions and whatever else from the Americans. In American law, you can't give aid or military assistance to any country that has nuclear weapons and isn't a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Well, that's Israel. That's Israel. They call it strategic ambiguity. They have nuclear weapons, but they refuse to admit it because they don't want to sign on to the Non-Proliferation Treaty and they want to, I don't know, whatever. But, forget about the motives. That's just the facts. They have nuclear weapons and they don't admit it. It's the worst kept secret in human history.
Palestine would dearly love to get rid of Israel and genocide. Have no doubt about it. But you know what?
You know what? She's probably right about that. Like a lot of the Palestinians that got kicked off their land in 1948 and then, pushed into the small enclave that's known as Gaza or pushed into Jordan and other surrounding countries. A lot of those guys that like imagine if like you lost your family farm and family members of yours got killed and you're kicked out and then you're told you're not allowed to return and then a new nation is created. Like, yeah, you'd be pretty fucking bitter about that. And you'd probably want to reverse that. So like, yeah, she's probably right about that. I don't know.
Can't. They don't have the power to do it. Now, Israel could well and truly genocide Palestine or Gaza because they've got the military might. But the difference is they won't. So the fact is that calling...
What are you talking about? They won't. They're bombing like the tents of the people that live there because they've already bombed all the buildings. No buildings left. So they're just like fucking bombing tents. They're shooting people trying to go get aid, like to go get a scrap of food or whatever. It's just a joke. But, again, I wouldn't even, I don't know. Like I care about this just because I think like, liberty, freedom, and all that stuff is like a God-given right. I think that like every human has the right to be free and not be subjugated. So like I take a little bit of interest in, war and peace and just conflicts around the world and whatever else. But I'd be happy not to. Like I'd be happy if like our politicians in Australia didn't care about that and just wanted to only focus on Aussies. Like that'd be fantastic. I wouldn't care if Pauline Hanson was just ignorant on Israel Palestine, but was like, my focus is Australia, so I don't need to be an expert in the history of Israel because I just care about Australians and what I'm going to do for Aussies, and then just be like hammering the government on that, like what are you doing for Aussies? What are you doing for the homeless people that are living on the street? What are you doing about the destruction of our purchasing power with our currency because you're just spending so much more money than you're collecting in taxes, and then you're just printing and borrowing more money to fill the gap so that you can spend into oblivion? Like, what are you doing about that? What are you doing about the amount of taxes that Aussies are paying? Where's all that tax money going? But she's not doing that. What do you do? What if she was just like hammering Anthony Albanese on his like immigration policy? Just fixate on that. But no, she's not doing that. Or maybe she is, but she's doing this right now. She's fucking siding with the Israelis, and it's just madness. And it's like, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then if you're going to pick one side in this foreign conflict, then all right, well then, when you're wrong about it, like, we're going to criticize you, and we're going to go, no, actually, Pauline, this is a genocide. I don't care how semantical you want to be about it. They're doing exactly what, let's go back to the definition. These Israelis, they've killed 100,000 of them. They've displaced 90% of the people there. The majority of the buildings are flattened. There's no hospitals left. There's nothing. They're not allowing aid to get in. There was a period as well last year, 3-month period, where the Israelis blockaded Gaza and said, and Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister, was bragging about not one grain of wheat is going to get in during the blockade. What do you call that? What about when the attack first? And this is the thing too. It's like with the I'll go full screen for a second. But with the October 7th attack, like, yeah, that was terrible. That was horrific. Hamas shouldn't have done that. That was, and look at the response. They've just got their own people slaughtered. But like, where was I going with that? So Hamas breaks out of the prison and goes and kills 1,200 people, takes a bunch of hostages back. That's all bad. That's all wrong. They shouldn't do that. But then like, look at the response. Like, Israel just fucking decimates the whole place. And like, if they really cared about the hostages, which is, I don't know, it seems it's unclear at best whether they actually did. Rhetorically they did, but like, when you're just like carpet bombing the place and leveling the place, like, can you really be sure that some of those hostages aren't going to get caught up in that? What was the thing too? Like some of the hostages that did get released that were still alive, like gave interviews saying like we were more scared of the Israeli bombs raining down on our heads more so than our captives. But yeah, like with Hamas like committing that atrocity, like every Palestinian isn't Hamas. So, to punish everybody for what a militant terrorist group does is atrocious. It's disgusting. But, we have a long history of fucking doing that, and then just referring to the innocents that die as collateral damage. Like, it's just sick. It's disgusting. Anyone who embraces this shit is like, it's bad for your soul. It's not good for you. It is spiritually going to decay you, in my opinion.
So the fact is that the Greens calling this is genocide isn't. Palestine invaded Israel and killed 1,200 hostages. It's appalling what they did. Let's face the facts out there and people understand.
I mean, it's so funny too how she refers to fuck. Sorry, dude. Hang on. Let me go back. Sorry, I thought I had this up before. Hang on. Let me just play this little bit and then we'll respond to it.
They don't have the power to do it. Now, Israel could well and truly genocide Palestine or Gaza because they've got the military might. But the difference is they won't. So the fact is that the Greens calling this as genocide, it isn't. Palestine invaded Israel.
Okay. So just there where she says Palestine invaded Israel, it's like being framed as though, Palestine or Gaza is like a neighboring country. It's not. It's a small enclave inside of Israel, and they are a captive people that they have been occupied since 1967, since the 6-Day War. So that's the truth. It's like, Palestine, when there's this framing, Palestine invaded Israel. No, dude, your subjects broke out of the open air prison and then committed atrocities. That's more accurate. All right.
And, killed 1,200 people, took others hostages. It's appalling what they did. Let's face the facts out there and people understand what's going on here. And if anyone did it to Australia, we would stand up and fight and defend our country as well.
We would eliminate Hamas. It's the only thing any government could do.
Yeah, okay, dude, okay. So look, she's right about like if we were attacked, if we had a territory of occupied people and they broke out of their occupation and then murdered 1,200 people in Australia, or whatever. They always want to do like the fucking like the what is it, like the population of Israel is like, what is it? It's like 15 million people, something like that. 12 million people, and then 1,200 people were killed. So you sort of work out what the ratio is. So then if we're a country of 30 million people, whatever times it by 3. So if we had an occupied territory of people, say for example, let's hypothetically, when the British first came here and established Australia, and then obviously there were a lot of atrocities committed against the Indigenous people, the Aboriginals here. But just hypothetically, say for example that rather than eventually integrating them into our society, we just pushed them into 2 small enclaves, blockaded them, and that was that. And then one day they broke out of the enclave that we pushed them into, and then committed atrocity and murdered 3,000 people. Yeah, like that would not be good, and our government would probably respond to that in some way. Highly doubt it would be in the way that the Israelis did, but anyway. But like, what's the problem there? Like, the problem isn't like the problem is that you can't just occupy people forever and think that nothing bad's going to happen. And that's really the difference, like say here in Australia compared to, Israel is that we did, even though with all the atrocities, all the awful things that the British and the early Australian settlers did to the Aboriginals, as bad as it was, eventually, and it took longer than it should have, but eventually, we integrated them into our society. And, there's problems with that, obviously, but they all have the same rights as we do. In some cases, they have more rights than we do, but that's another conversation. That's another topic for another day. But by and large, Aboriginals have the same rights as everyone. We all have the same rights as each other. And that's why we don't have like Aboriginal terrorist groups trying to attack the government. Like, the government essentially just buys them off, which that's not a great solution either, but it's better than what Israel's doing to their indigenous people. So that's really at the heart of the issue. That's at the very core of what's going on, is like Israel. So, okay, quick brief history, just as someone who's like taken interest in this and done a bit of reading, read a few books on this stuff. Israel was created in 1948 as a response to the aftermath of World War II and the Holocaust and all that sort of stuff. And so there was political will to create a Jewish state. Now, the fact that it happened in Palestine, doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it would make more sense if like they carved out a piece of Germany and gave it to the Jews. Like, that would make more sense because they were actually responsible for the atrocities against the Jews, but whatever. And also, it wasn't just Jews in the Holocaust. There were Gypsies, there were Slavs, there were, it's funny how the Jews have a monopoly on the Holocaust. And anytime it's brought up, it's 6 million Jews were killed, not one less. It was 6 million Jews killed in the Holocaust, and that's all we know about it. And no one really puts any emphasis on anybody else that was caught up in the Holocaust. It was just the Jews, right? But so in response to that, rather than carving out a section of a piece of Germany and give that to the Jews, which would make more sense, they carved out they took Palestine. They took the landmass that was known as Palestine and gave that to the Jews, right? And so that was 1948. And then in fast forwarding, just hitting the sort of key points in the history of this thing. Then in 1967, Israel fought a war against, it was known as the 6-Day War, and they fought a war against Egypt and Jordan, and I think Syria as well. And Israel smashed them in 6 days, completely decimated their military capabilities of those two nations, probably, and I think even three: Jordan, Egypt, and Syria. And in doing so, they took control of the remaining Palestinian territories. So hang on, back up 1 second. Egypt controlled Gaza, and Jordan controlled the West Bank. After the 6-Day War, Israel pushed them out, Egypt and Jordan, and then Israel took control of those two territories. And ever since then, Israel has been occupying Gaza and the West Bank. And that's the beef. That's the source of so many issues in that region. Like Osama bin Laden cites the mistreatment of the Palestinians in his fatwas, his declarations of war. Again, there's 2 declarations of war against Jews and Crusaders. And he's railing against, it's like the third major point of his grievances, so the mistreatment of the Palestinians has been a sticking point in that region for a long time. And again, I wouldn't care just being an Aussie and thinking that Australian politicians should just care about Australia. Obviously, we've got to be friends with our neighbours and we've got to have whatever, it makes sense to have trade agreements and you got to deal with the rest of the world. But I want to see from our Aussie politicians more of a focus on Australia and on Australian citizens and what are you going to do for us? And actually, not so much what are you going to do for us? What are you going to do to get out of the way so that we can do what we know we need to do? How about cutting regulations, cutting taxes, and freeing up us to be able to be more prosperous and to be a richer, a richer population. That'd be nice. Wouldn't that be fucking great? What a pipe dream. Oh yeah, and just quickly on the genocide point or whatever, like the way Pauline Hanson sort of phrasing it, and I think like mostly in people's minds when they think of genocide, you think of like, I don't know, like you just think of like it's just a mass slaughter of a particular group of people, but it's not necessarily just a mass slaughter. It's like it's ethnic cleansing. It's let's go back to the definition real quick, but it's not necessarily just that. Oh, you've killed every man, woman, and child. Let's go back to it one more time. Genocide is the deliberate, systematic, and intentional destruction in whole or in part of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. So the destruction of a particular group, but that doesn't necessarily mean killing them all. So and then here it says it involves acts like killing members, causing serious harm, and preventing births. So yeah. So how does Gaza not fit that? It fucking does. It just does, man. And again, I don't care if you don't want to care about this stuff, like that's fine with me. Like if you're an Aussie and you just want to care about Australians and this country, like that's much more sane and rational, in my opinion, than the opposite. But like to the extent that you're going to get involved in these types of discussions and debates and pick one side, well, it's like, well, like if you're wrong, then you deserve to be criticised on that. All right, I better run. My cat is crying at me and she wants to be fed, even though it's a little early. Oh, Tilly, come here, baby. Everyone meet Tilly. Little Tilly darling. All right. Thanks, everyone. Peace out. Follow me on X at Arabian Cap, at ARABANCAP. Like the video, share the video, all that lovely, lovely stuff. Thanks, everybody. Peace out. Have a good one. Catch you later.